Okay, Tracilyn and everybody else who's listening to this, I know this is something, isn't it? We're almost done here. I got 2 more subjects. We're going to let go with the Elvis Presley Jr. part. In my opinion, Elvis Enterprise, if it's possible, know what he's doing with Elvis's name is pretty pathetic. Maybe you think it's funny. I don't. Lisa, if you're out there and you ever hear this, I hope that you don't use your existence because of your heritage and your background. I hope you don't use that to purposely hurt people. We all do it by accident. I hope you don't use your position to purposely hurt people. That other fat slob? See, and I don't talk like that. But it's true. He's unhealthy. He's going by the name of somebody else, the king of rock and roll. Why not somebody else? Who knows? Is he really the son? If he's saying that and it's not true, he should be able to be sued and locked up in prison because he's lying to the general public. And that's what his survival is based off of. So know that. I would like to see this man put in jail if he's not real. So if there's any law officers, lawyers, attorneys, if you're out there in the transsexual community, I personally would like to find out. I don't have the means, I don't have finances. I would like to find out if he's really the true son of Elvis Presley. And when they say it's not my freedom of right, I say there has to be something for the general public. Because of this reason, if he's lying about it, then that alone should have him locked up in prison for the rest of his life. He's misleading a lot of people if that would be true. Think about it, we could talk about it. Know that if it is not true, and he is lying about being his one and only son, that I think he should be locked up in prison for the rest of his life, and so he can think about what he did to the lives of many other people. Okay, when I was listening to Joyce Myers, her teachings were enslaving me into their unhealthy relationships. I didn't learn about healthy relationships and compatibility as a child growing up. My mother did not teach me. My family didn't really teach me about it. They were so focused on the American work machine. You know, make money and be successful and this, that, and the other. There was no clarity on how to develop healthy relationships or to learn about the desires of the truth of your heart. I didn't know anything about gender identity. I didn't know anything about sexual desires on who you want to sleep with. I'm learning every day that most of all the information that's out here confuses your mind and you don't really know what the absolute truth is. That's why it's always nice to get into the Holy Bible, where they claim is the only book that is 100% absolute truth. And in there is all the answers for you to develop your own personal belief system. Okay? Not just to develop it, but to reveal it to you, your own truth of who you are. And as you become more true to who you are, you're going to get recognized by other people who really love to keep the masses of people fighting, arguing, lost, confused, not really certain about what this life is about. They don't want to see you fulfill the desires of your heart. They want to kill you. Whether it's by mental torture or leading you into some kind of weird stuff. Okay? That's what they do with the girls who work as escorts. Adult entertainers, you gotta have connection with other people. Stay in connection in relationships, healthy relationships. Be supportive and love each other. And know that I have learned that even some lawmen can be very corrupted. And they might not realize what their doings is doing to the life of somebody else, but it is most certainly contributing to tragedy at times. In my opinion, it's time the American people really start to band together and start realizing it's the leadership of the planet. Now, what is the leadership? It might be the leadership behind the leadership. Like in this case, Stephen C. Johnson. People like that, who all they do is sit behind a computer all day, trying to stir up trouble and mess up somebody's life and keep them in horrible situations, in horrible relationships, leading them into fighting and arguing with other people. Through not mind control, through thought control. They play around with our thoughts. Constantly, like it's so somebody beside you constantly nagging at you in opposition. They want to mess up your whole day. They don't want you to, it's not even real any purpose. That's just what they do. And they love it. Why aren't we targeting people like that, like Stephen C. Johnson, and having him investigated and having him put in jail or maybe even worse? Why aren't people acknowledging that we've been under not mind control? The only way you're in mind control is if you're not aware that there is people with technology that are getting into your thought process. Maybe even a computer that is generating for the general public. You know, we might find out that the computer's what's really running this country. We don't know that for sure, but it could be very possible. Now, being a student of Joyce Meyers and not intelligence, I didn't know how to get out of bouncing around, living place to place. I can't get a job that actually pays. I'm facing a great deal of discrimination because I am a transsexual female openly, and I always will be. It's important to me, and I think, in my opinion, you got to know how to be open. Don't be out there, in my opinion, rubbing it in everybody's faces and being loud and proud, but just being yourself, being genuine, being real, and letting people know, yes, I am a transsexual female or a transsexual male. I identify as this. This is just a way that you don't, let people know. Don't always believe what you've been taught in school is necessarily the absolute truth. Don't be surprised if they didn't set us up years ago for their agenda. This is what a household should look like. This is what a job occupation should look like. This is what your kids should be doing with their life. Okay? Just know that. Now, one of the places I was living was somebody that I came to today. I love them very much. Very much. I love the God in them. Without them, I wouldn't be alive today. Because I didn't know what to do. There's not enough promotion out there when Americans become homeless. What do? I don't know what to do. Well, if you don't know what to do and you end up on a street, you could get arrested and put in jail. Who knows what they might do for you or do to you especially if you're societally an outcast. What we perceive as an outcast, it's just somebody that maybe is intelligent and can adapt intellectually to what they've been taught. This is what you should be doing with your life. Well, most people look down on that, including officers of the law. If you're on the street, you're street scum. Some of us have been there. Okay, everybody will look down on you. You don't want them to, but they do. While I was living in this household, relationships were being brought into my life with no conditional agreement terms on how, number one, being interviewed, why do you want to move here? Most of them were not homeless and needing a place to live. I was. Why do you want to move here? Will you contribute to the needs of the household as an entirety? Will you respect the lives of the people who already live here as though they are what? Family. A loving family. Will you focus on cleansing your life and moving forward in a direction for your life that you can be able to take care, hopefully working towards either as a group of people that you can be able to find a means to be able to develop a life that you'll be able to make sure that at least a net of your needs are met. Okay? There are so many laws that it makes it impossible for groups of people sometimes to come together to do things because they want to keep everybody living alone. No unity. When there's unity, there's growth. There's action applied. There's things happening. Well, guess what? I was dependent. I needed this person to take care of me, to feed me. If I needed clothing, if I had to go to the doctor, this person had to help me, okay? I didn't know what else to do. My other means of living with people, whether it was my family, my sister or whatever, the second I was living there, I was stuck in their idea of what a human being should be. It's not conducive, it's not healthy, and it will break you down mentally. This is all on my records in my psychologist. I had to get a psychologist not because there was something seriously wrong with me, other than I acknowledge my own truth. I can't mentally adapt to a falsehood of life. Well, most people are living along the lines of that falsehood of life because they're believing what they've been taught is what's real. It's not necessarily real by any means. And because you can't adapt to that, you will get kicked out of people's homes quickly. Well, if I didn't submit to other people's ideas of life, I got kicked out. So I've learned to lock myself in a bedroom and cry my eyes out as Joyce Myers is screaming through the television, God did give you someone to love. God did give you people to love. Learn to love others. Learn to get along with others. The only way, Joyce Myers, you can learn to get along with others when you are dependent on the world around you is if you submit to everything they tell you to do, bitch. What do you think about that? That leads people. How many people do you think that she listens to her teachings? Notice she doesn't put into her videos that this is entertainment. Do not be cautious about falling into agreement with my teachings and applying them to your life. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. There's no warning. By law, there should be warning with that. And by the way, I reached out to ministries, including that hooker for Christ out in Nevada when I was there. She let me sit in the parking lot. She told me she would meet with me. I asked her when I showed up at church, could I please talk to you? She told me she would meet. I only need a few minutes. I didn't know what to do. I was homeless. I was living in a hotel. I was escorting. I know how the police officers are setting escorts up all the time, framing them and basically beating them down. Okay? I need help here. I don't know what to do. Somebody please show me some love. She told me to meet her in a parking lot, and the hooker for Christ never showed up. I was standing out there for almost 20 minutes. Evidently, I scared her. Why? Why is she scared of me? Why didn't she walk out to the parking lot with her boyfriend from Striper? And maybe some security or something, maybe officers, because she was scared and saying, what's your problem, Tracilyn? What's your problem? Well, I'm homeless. I'm scared for my life. I don't know what to do. Nobody will love me. Maybe there's nothing wrong with me and everything's right with me, but the world around me has a lot of mental issues. They're scared of people who really need somebody to love them in a moment and give them a little bit of words of encouragement and guidance. If you want to be in a ministry, you shouldn't leave people that are considered to be hookers stuck out in a parking lot and you never showed up. That's not very kind. Maybe your fucking license to operate as a ministry should be taken from you. I feel better about that. Eventually I'm going to call her and I'm going to let her know about that. What are they going to do about it? I'm going to call all the ministries. Because I emailed at ministries, and guess what? The best that most of them could do is say, we got you in our prayers. Well, guess what? I need more than prayers. I need to see fucking love in human form. Somebody be kind to me for once. Stop acting like I don't want to work. Stop acting like I don't want to do anything. You don't realize it till you really do want to do stuff with your life, and the whole world around you that you're depending on somebody meeting you part way is treating you like shit, and they're also leaving you in the parking lot. Like a jackass. Hooker for Christ? I'm more than just a jackass. And if I am a jackass, I'm a jackass for Christ. Remember, God chooses the weak and the foolish things of this earth to shame the wise. Are you the wise one? You need to say you're sorry for leaving me sit in a parking lot. My life depended on someone being honest and helping me. Didn't you have a pamphlet ready? If you're homeless, here's some resources. Here's some ideas of homeless shelters. You need to get your needs met. If you were really a hooker at any time, you'd realize how corrupted the laws were, and mentally you get beaten down because of your clients keep wanting you to do more and more disgusting shit. That's not human. They're basically humiliating you and treating you like garbage. So you mentally get broken down, right? Hooker for Christ? And you could use another fellow hooker, male, female, whatever you are, to say, I get it. You need your needs met. A net of needs. I can't do it for you, but I sure as heck can guide you through it. That would have been really nice. You don't know how much shit it would have saved me from. I was near death. Guess what? I'm not dead. And my brain is coming back to life, and I acknowledge how mean people are. And I'm not afraid to talk, hooker for Christ. And I'm not afraid to share with everybody the rest of my life that people that leave people sit in the parking lot should have their ministry license taken from them. And they should never again in that state be allowed to, or any state, be able to function as a ministry ever again. My life depended on somebody being kind. Is it your responsibility? Well, I became your responsibility when I showed up at the church and I said I need help. Yep. A little bit of compassion. Anyway, I don't want to ride that too much. We're all at different places in life. You know? I'm not saying I'm any better than anyone else, because I'm not. But I certainly learned, don't tell somebody you're going to meet them in a parking lot if you're not really going to do it. And if you're scared, just be honest. Just say, you know what? I don't want to meet in a parking lot. How about if we just sit down right here quick? Or, I'm not interested in talking. I have a lot of plans today. Just be honest. A lot of people are too scared to be honest. Maybe they should listen to the saying of fear nothing but fear itself. Okay, so anyway, while I was living in this household and I was homeless, I ended up bouncing back and forth, and I would end up returning to escorting, and it got worse and worse and worse for me, the circumstances. And every time I stayed somewhere like at my sister's, she always wanted money. Money, 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 money. Well, if all you can do is keep giving to everybody, you're giving, 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 you need to be able to go somewhere to rest. Well, if you rest on a street corner, you could get arrested and put in jail. We don't want that to happen. I needed an apartment. I couldn't afford an apartment. I had too much overhead on my travel expenses. I was trying to get through my transition, you name it. Life is challenging. We all got the challenges. Nevertheless, folks, when I was living there, the last time, there was a gentleman who lived there. He's in the LGBT community. I guess so, because he's considered to be gay. And here's the thing. The person who owns the property, who is my spiritual daddy, and I love him very much, gave the household leadership over to this person. This person had a son, a teenager, who slept in my first room that I was in the front room of the house. My room was on the other side now. And I used to lock myself in there. Why? Depressed. Majorly depressed. Can't do anything with myself. I don't know what to do. This guy was one of the nicest people, and he was also a bastard. And he used to whoop his child's fucking ass like I never heard anybody beat before in my life. I'm listening to Joyce Myers. I'm reflecting on my own life, on the fact that I shouldn't be here. Joyce is saying God did give you people to love. Meanwhile, I'm listening to this teenager scream his lungs out because his abusive father is beating the shit out of him. Now understand, this guy adopted that child. Why did he adopt him if all he wants to do is beat him? Why didn't he give him back up for adoption? I remember I wanted to try to love this child very much. This child didn't want me to touch him as far as hugging him and stuff. Okay, I learned my boundaries through listening to the child. And I explained to the child about getting the help he needed. If I were to act upon it, I would have been kicked out of there instantly. Or I would have been arrested. Because my heart said, get out of my room and go in there, kick in the door, and take that man and slam him into the wall away from the child. Okay? Number one, if I would have done that, he would have called the cops instantly, and his son would have sided with him. His son didn't want me involved in that. Now, what do you do in a situation like that? I don't believe that a father should be beating his child like that. If you're out there and you hear this message, I'm not scared of you, punk. I don't appreciate you beating a child in my presence. I'm not saying your name at the present time. Okay? I know that you had a lot of mental issues. And you easily got stressed out because I'm one of the nicest people you could ever meet. And man, did you at times make my life hell. I had to bite my lip and just shut up and mind my own business. Because of the owner was more supportive of that human being because that person got work done around the house and he wanted to sell the house. So he gave him full control over it. And let me tell you something, he was not the nicest person in the world to live with. If you live to his idea of life, it's okay. But most certainly don't share anything personal with him because he may use it against you, because his whole goal, even though he agreed that you could move back into the household, he didn't really agree to it. He just agreed to it. His whole goal is to get you thrown out of the house for any reason. He wants to get all the dirt on you. Okay? You want to talk about dramatic shit. While I was living in that household, I dealt with more shit than you could ever imagine. All of my psychiatrists said it was unhealthy for me to live in that environment. Okay? Now I look at that person, he wanted, and he knew I wanted to have a household to help. I wanted to help the transsexual female community by providing a loving, healthy home environment while I'm still rocking and rolling and still doing my music and my art. Provide a healthy home environment. But I learned that you got to really bring them in and have an agreement signed. And if they can't honor the agreement, then they got to move. Then they have to move. You help them get moving in the right direction, and that's pretty much it. You know, and you help them through their life and get them there. There has to be like a rehabilitation program because they've been booted out. They haven't been taught right most of their life. Most of us have not been taught right our whole life, and we're not accepted in society, and it's horrible. With that being said, I couldn't have any say into how that household was ran. People didn't want to chip in. I had to serve all of those people And I didn't even like doing most of the stuff myself, and there was big parts of my life that were missing. I didn't have my own money. So I couldn't do the things with my life that I desired to do, finish my transition. I wanted to relocate and get connected so I could have a band and travel the country and play my music. And I had visions or I should say dreams of my life, but I didn't know how to act upon them. And let me tell you something. Listening to hearing a teenage kid get his ass whooped by his father, what would you do? What if you knew you walked into that room, it could lead to all kinds of tragedy? I had to listen to my mother get beaten as a kid. When I was a kid in 4th grade, my stepdad was a heroin addict and an alcoholic. He was very stressed out and he used to whoop my mom's ass. She almost died and I came home one day and I seen her sitting on the floor with her eyes rolled up in her head. We all remember as a household that the cops didn't really seem to care so much about my mother. Why, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't care at all. I don't remember. But I do remember that part because my brother was really upset about it. So was my grandfather. They wanted that man arrested, put in jail. That's what makes sense. He's a woman abuser. He's a heroin addict. He should have been locked up in prison for years. Rehabilitated. Forced to fucking apologize to my mother. Well, you don't want to say forced, but he should have apologized to my mother, and he may have years later. But here's the thing. Now, I'm heading towards my 40s, or I'm in my 40s, and I'm listening to this, person in the LGBT community. He's a gay man, beating the shit out of his teenage kid. Now, I know I can walk in there and I can lay him on his ass really quick. I can just throw him out the window if I want to. I'm big enough to do it, as a human being. That's right, if you hear this message, I am big enough to do it and you know it. I had to bite my lip and listen to that kid scream. Was it the crack of the belt I heard against his ass? What was going on? I don't know. But the person who owned the house, imagine that. Now, if I go in there and I do anything, I could end up being arrested. Why? Because police officers, unfortunately, are human beings, and sometimes they look down on the transsexual communities as scums, especially if they were busted for prostitution, which was not true. They're even looked down more upon, especially if they were homeless. They're looked down upon. I'm very mad that I had to listen to that. And if I would have talked to the owner of the house and explained to him what was going on, I would have had to be the one to move. Mind my own business. Joyce Myers, these are not people that God is calling me to love. These are the people that God's saying it's time to move on. But Joyce Myers, how do I do that when people with ministries let me standing in a parking lot? And I don't know what to do because I'm a student of Joel Osteen, who teaches Santa Claus, not the real truth, that intelligence is God of the human race. I don't need prayers, I need action, baby. We have a lot more to talk about, Joyce Myers and Joel Osteen, JT Jake, LCBC, Dave Ashcraft, the church up in Chicago. We got a lot to talk about. You guys probably won't like me too much. Why? Because I'm a person of truth? And because of what I witnessed? That your teachings lead people to their deaths, not to true life? The book of the Holy Scripture is to experience heaven here on this earth. Riches are included in it because it has to do with freedom. And that's what we're all after. and that's what we're all worthy of. A life of freedom, and that life is to fulfill the desires of our heart. The resources of the earth is meant for the human races to share. You don't have to work for them. You're supposed to share with one another. No wonder there's only a small percentage of people who hold all the wealth, which is freedom. They keep everybody enslaved. I don't like being a slave. I came here to live my life and fulfill my heart's desires and live freely. Now, you're not going to preach the gospel like that, have me near death, and then I wake up to reality that I was never a student of intelligence, or I would have been on the move years ago. I wouldn't have ended up in a situation where a gay man was beating his child. That if I would have done something, I could have ended up being put in jail. Or if I didn't do something, I could have been put in jail. Or I would have been kicked out of the house for voicing the truth that the kid should stay and the gay man beating his child should have to leave. By law of Tracilyn. By law of God. I wanted to love that kid. Now, this is what happens when you fall into falsehood teachings. You have unhealthy relationship with the world around you. And in my opinion, listening to people and being a student of Joyce Meyer's and mega churches, I've learned how to stay in unhealthy relationships, but I never learned how to develop healthy relationships. Because in that is a beautiful life. You might even be a great asset to the community. Instead of an unhealthy relationship with Dayton City, I could have a very healthy relationship with them. Right? Maybe I could meet with the city board and we could start talking some serious matters. Maybe. Maybe I'm the one who's going to have to meet with the governor of the state. Who knows? Maybe I'm the one who's going to have to sit in D.C. and talk to all the political people and say that there's a lot of things that need to start happening. Why is that? Because we have serious matters. And there's a lot of evidence that psychiatrists could point out in the court of law and in accordance to the Holy Bible that things need to be tuned up and tweaked up so people can have life instead of the opposite. So if you're out there, you know who you are, you're probably still here in Dayton. I don't want to piss you off. But you know it, if I would have walked in that room, who knows what could have happened, but most likely, you would have either called the cops on me, right, when I should have really called them on you, but we also know that I would have been kicked out of there if I would have done that. Why is that? Because I called the cops before when I knew that somebody was drinking and they were underage. And they wouldn't show me their driver's license. And I didn't want to be in a household with people who were drinking underage. Because I was taught from Pennsylvania that if you have people underage in your custody, that you know about it, that you're now held reliable for it if that person leaves and wrecks their car and maybe kills somebody up the street. I had to live against the values that I grew up instilled inside my intelligence. In other words, if that household would have been raised properly, we'd be producing some life for our local community. But instead, it was an unhealthy environment for people to come and pretty much live recklessly. And it contaminated each other's lives rather than benefited each other's lives. The way that it benefited is I learned a lot from living like that. In the fact that you don't want just relationships thrown into your life. You really want to make the right choices and have a healthy relationship with people, and you need to know boundaries. So that part is all done. And I feel good because all of this is done. Now, with all this being said, know that my whole life story in my transitional walk was simply that I've been told every day of my life who a human being should be, how one should dress, how one should conduct themselves, who they have sex with, who they're legally allowed to marry, the standard American dream, the having a house, white picket fence, children, and, get involved in your local community schools. This is a way we should do life. Well, I'm not making fun of it if that's what you want to do. If you do, that's great. Some people like me want to rock and roll and travel the country and do different things. And I have visions for my own life now, very much so. I'm really starting to acknowledge what it is that I desire with my life. The desires of my heart is what I acknowledge. Now it's just trying to exercise methods in order for it to become existent. In doing that, in 2012 was the first time in my life that I stepped out to actually be true to my heart. When I came back from Las Vegas, I said to my spiritual daddy, I held him and I said, Daddy, I don't know what I'm about ready to do, but I have to do it. I don't know why I have to do it, is what I said. I just have to do it. Please be patient. He gave me permission, and next thing you know, why did I need permission? I shouldn't have had to ask him permission. God damn it, somebody be kind to me and let me take time to figure things. I've been lied to about everything my whole life. I've taken my information based off of other information. Where did this information come from? Did it ever come from absolute truth? My heart is telling me it's in pain. Something's not right here. I shouldn't be homeless. I shouldn't be being left out in the parking lot by a hooker for Christ. I should be doing all different kinds of things with my life. And I'm learning in a few years from then, maybe a year or two, that I shouldn't be listening to a gay man beat his teenage child to near death. And not feel powerless in doing anything because I'm going to be penalized if I do anything. That, in my opinion, was justified by God. Maybe not laws of the land. I stepped out on the street and that's when I started to realize, and my busking experience is done, so I'm not going to talk about it. Stephen C. Johnson was clearly sending me people and trying to lead me into playing bar rooms. They were trying to get me to revert myself back from being trans, take the nose ring out, take the earrings out, wash the makeup off, just wear jeans and a t-shirt, let your hair, they didn't want me to have blonde hair anymore. They wanted it to be its natural color to grow out. That's the way to do things. In other words, they were forcing me to go back. They thought that I got lost in the sham of everything. And the truth of the matter is, I read the good book for many years, and the truth of Holy Bible is what made me surrender to my own truth. I had to be honest with me for the first time in my life. Sexuality, gender identity, identify more with female, whether you like it or not, or anybody else understands it, I understand it. I don't need other people to understand it. I need to understand it. Oh, excuse me, did I just fart? I'll have to put that in my heading. Transsexual female farts in video while sharing her life story. We might get a hit or two for that. People tend to like it. It makes them laugh. Okay, I'm real. It might be the cappuccino. Now here's the thing. Check this out. As I started to do that, I started to realize people like Miley Cyrus, Taylor Swift, John Bon Jovi, Whitesnake, people in mainstream, on television, people like Snoop Dogg turned into Snoop Lion. I've noticed a lot of things were happening in the fact that as I was stepping forward that one lady, I forget her name. She's a transsexual speaker in the community. She's kind of like political. She was Bruce Jenner, I think it was, and then Caitlyn something. Okay, so she came out. I had suspicion, but it's not 100% sure as to whether or not the president himself may potentially be a cross-dresser, or that his wife is possibly, could be, but maybe not. Maybe it could be that she's a transsexual female, as well as other people. There's a blues lady that's out. I forget her name. I actually liked her Facebook page because she's kind of growing on me a little bit, because she's kind of appears to be dating one of my favorite guitar players from years ago. So, and I like to see that. I don't know personally. I got to be honest. I don't know if she's a transsexual or not either. Most likely not, right? A genetic girl. But here's the thing. That's what happens to your mind, is it starts to get distorted. You don't really know. And then when you speak, what can be proven, what cannot be proven, and be held accountable is another story. So you don't like to really, I didn't want to make my life judging and talking about things like that. But here's the thing that I'm going to share with you. Okay? I realized that I was being watched via satellite, at least. That somebody was communicating me, Stephen C. Johnson. I didn't know how many people in the entertainment industry were either A, watching and listening to me speak, because I talk to myself all the time when I play and stuff, even throughout the day, or if it was as I was releasing my stuff online. But I realized that the things that I was doing, expressing in my art, pictures, I was a big 50s girl, so I had pictures of myself in a scarf. I wanted to do things 50s. I had a ragtop Cadillac as for a demo CD that I had. I made one of those and put it out. I was really big about the heart. I remember when I was in the kitchen in Huber Heights, and I was really giving like a sermon to myself of the importance that, like, the packages of our, like, we get a starter kit in our heart. We have to open it up and be true to ourselves. And, we pretty much put it on and we start trying it out and we start to become it. Well, I realized that somebody like Bon Jovi, for instance, had a sword in the heart, like, within the very next day. I realized that things that I was talking about in the privacy of my home, these people in the entertainment industry were starting to actually act upon and do. And I felt like they were purposely trying to either rub things into my face or magnify the things in my face. But I know a lot of the things that I desired to do, for instance, were not really magnified within the entertainment industry. And next thing you know, it seems like whether it's my life story, anything to do with my life story, the titles of my songs that I wrote, the storylines off of them were starting to all manifest in the entertainment, political, and religious communities. Now, in my opinion, I would have to say that I was being used as a resource. And eventually I'm going to, not now, I mean, these people have a way of consuming your life. My heart, I got to stay true on the fact that I want to do my music. Record music and move forward. I do not want to get wrapped up in political stuff. I do not want to waste my life's energy constantly talking about my past. And I most certainly do not want to give attention to people in mainstream music and media. The reasoning is it's all propaganda to keep people's mind all screwed up. Okay? And they use people like me as a resource. Whether you want to believe it or not, transsexuals were always out there, but it was more on a private sense, and it was slowly becoming where that's why, in my opinion, they were trying to revert me back into what they call manhood, and other transsexuals within their family, so to speak, they call it a family, could be their kids, could be people that they know, or, that are in the entertainment industry, in the mainstream already. They like to promote who they want to promote, and it's usually people that they can get out of them what they want. As to where with somebody like me, I'm a person of truth. I can't submit to doing what other people tell me to do. I can't do that. I need to do freely what is the desires of my heart. Now, with this being said, what I'm going to give you some hints on is the fact that once I started putting content out there, especially, now I'm realizing that even bigger YouTube channels, what you call bigger YouTube channels, it's just people that have more views, or they have like millions of views, they have millions of subscribers and stuff. We don't really know how true it all is, because what I've learned through YouTube is, like I said, with my webcam, I had like 27 to 30 some thousand subscribers with just my webcam and messed up videos. Now I have amazing music videos and I shared the same life story and stuff, and I don't even have a fraction of subscribers, and only a fraction, really. I think the views on the videos is pretty more realistic. But what I believe and what I realize is YouTube will promote whatever they want to promote, and they will not promote what they don't want to promote. In fact, they will try to smolder it out. And that's the same with Facebook and all the social medias. In other words, if the people want to promote you, they will. And if the people don't want to promote you, they will do everything they can to get you to shut down. Okay? That's because they have reasons why they want to use certain people and why other reasons why they don't. Okay? So that leaves people like me as a wonderful resource. Why? Because I'm an incredible songwriter. I have a heck of a life story, and I'm intelligent. I studied psychologist for years. I also studied Holy Scripture, and various religions I dabbled in. There's still other areas of life that I guess I'm kind of curious about. And the truth of the matter is, when you combine all that together, it's more or less a person that's talking about subjects in music and in conversation that may be subjects that they don't want the average person to be aware about. Okay? I got to change the battery. I'll be right back.